For more on Joe Rogan and his influence on American politics, Eric Wilson is a political technologist and director for the Center for Campaign Innovation. He also led Marco Rubio's digital team during his 2016 campaign for president. Nice to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, JP. It's good to be with you today.
So for those who may not know this podcast, who is Joe Rogan?
Well, Joe Rogan is the host of the most popular podcast in the United States and possibly North America. Even so, he's only listened to by about 15% of podcast listeners, which is one of the effects of podcasts is it's so fragmented. Someone can be really popular, but people may never have heard of him, but he's increasingly become kind of a town square for our public affairs, and he can make or break someone's campaign based on their appearance on the show.
Yeah, some observers say President Donald Trump, his appearance on that program may have actually helped him secure victory, right, in the 2026 election campaign. And conversely, Kamala Harris not appearing on that podcast might have actually hurt her among some voters, especially younger men who maybe are more likely to listen to a program like this. So I take it this is a program that really has the potential maybe to swing some voters.
It certainly does. And at the Center for Campaign Innovation, we do a lot of research into how voters get news and entertainment. And one of the things that we've seen as of 2024, 32% of voters say that they get news about politics and government every week from podcasts. And it's particularly important as a news source for what we would call low propensity or infrequent voters who might not be following the news day to day, but are willing to go out and vote if there's a candidate that they think speaks to their issues.
Yeah, I saw like a recent headline in the Wall Street Journal. They called him America's most important swing voter, because I guess this is an audience that's like politically malleable, right? The folks that listen to him, they may not also be exposed to these politicians anywhere else in their media consumption habits.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan is certainly sort of first among equals when it comes to podcasting, but there are so many other podcasts out there that it really is part of the importance is that you are appearing on podcasts in general, and obviously you want to be on the most popular podcast. But one of the benefits is not just the show itself, because these are very long episodes. They can go upwards of a couple of hours, and most people don't have time to watch that every day. But the clips that you get that then are spread on social media that then people can react to are incredibly valuable. And that can happen on any podcast. So, certainly Joe Rogan is very important, but engaging in this ecosystem altogether, whether that's on the right or the left, is very important for reaching these infrequent voters.
Rogan, of course, is a controversial figure in some circles, at least. He'll be remembered probably most famously for some of the vaccine skepticism that was on his program during the pandemic. I was listening to one recently with Robert Kennedy Jr., and Rogan was, counseling pregnant women not to take Tylenol, for example. He's kind of led an anti-woke campaign, tarnishing DEI programs, not promoting those necessarily, of course. And then he endorsed, obviously, Donald Trump in the last campaign, although he has been critical of some of Trump's moves in recent weeks, especially when it relates to Iran, but also immigration enforcement and what's happened with ICE. Is there not necessarily a risk for a politician, especially a Canadian one, appearing on a program like this, where the host is known for inviting controversy?
Yeah, well, I think we just need to look at what's been happening in my home state of Texas, which is also Joe Rogan's home state now. James Tallarico, the Democratic nominee for Senate, launched his campaign by going on the Joe Rogan podcast. So I think, while some people want to discredit Rogan with sort of past statements, I think broadly understood he is convening a conversation and is creating a forum where both the right and the left and frankly, apolitical people feel comfortable coming on and chatting. And I think that's part of the appeal to voters is they know that they're not going to get sort of spin or kind of the kabuki theater of traditional TV political debates, that he's able to go further and ask those questions. And that's part of the appeal.
Tallarico and Bernie Sanders as well, right? Like a lot of left-wing types are drawn to this podcast as well. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in our country, he said he went on this program to argue against American tariffs on Canadian goods. trying to get his message across to the Trump administration. Is this a podcast where, there would be folks around Trump who are listening? Like, is this a pipeline into Trump's inner circle?
Well, I certainly think so, because it is a very popular show, but also the clips and sound bites can become very popular on social media. And so it's a very smart strategy on the part of Mr. Polev. And I think it will reach people who are in general supportive of the tariffs, and maybe open their minds to new facts.
All right, let's leave it there. Eric Wilson, political technologist, director of the Center for Campaign Innovation. Nice to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, JP.